Welcome to the How to Adult with Travis Walker podcast. This is episode 3. This is a bonus episode all about side hustles because we've got to talk about a service-based side hustle. So today we're going to have the founder and CEO of Cameron Owen PR. His name is, of course, Cameron Owen. If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure that you're liking the episodes, sharing the episodes. Leaving a review on the podcast is super helpful. And if you're feeling wild, make sure that you are donating to the cause so that this podcast continues and I can continue to produce this content. Thank you so much. Let's get to the episode. And just remember, y'all, haters don't hate you. They hate themselves for not doing what you are doing. Welcome, Cameron. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, Travis.
Thanks for being here, man. Oh, it means the world to me. For those of you who don't know Cameron and I, we went to college together and we were in the same fraternity. And so it's really cool to have you here.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited about it. And I think we have a lot to talk about.
I think so too. So I guess we need to get into it. So my primary goal is to help young adults learn how to adult.
Sure.
So exactly. So just for reference, how old are you? And then what part of the world do you live in?
I am 23 years old, a fresh 23, and I am in Austin, Texas.
Nice. The Jordan year.
Yep.
That's Jordan, right? Yeah, it's Jordan. So I'm really excited because the first 2 episodes were all about product-based side hustles. And then I realized after I did them, what about service-based side hustles? A lot of people utilize their talents to provide a service for people. And so the first person I thought of was you and Cameron Owen PR. And so I'm really excited. So tell us, what is your side hustle exactly? I just name dropped there, but I'd like to hear it from you.
Yeah, so I started Cameron Owen PR back when I was still in college. I think one of the main things that I realized was college is important. Education is so important, but there's so much more to life after school, and there's so much more that we don't learn in school. So I kind of put what I had learned through education and skills that I learned just through life together to create my business, which you name dropped, is Cameron Owen PR. And I work with influencers and other celebrities just with brand sponsorships, media placements, event appearances, those type of things.
Nice. So you said influencers. What does that exactly mean? What kind of people are you serving?
I think influencer is a very broad term. Right. I mainly work with people that have come from the entertainment industry, so they have a built-in audience. I do work with some local, maybe fashion influencers or lifestyle influencers, some that have just gotten their audience from the internet. But yeah, I don't look at clients based off of audience size or try and guess their the value that they bring based on their audience or any sort of numbers. I like to see the value in people based on the content that they're producing and how well their audience is engaged in them. Right.
And so I think you and I understand what public relations is, because we both have a degree in public relations. But for those of the listeners that don't know what public relation is, what would your definition be? I'm interested in this.
Again, I think public relations is a broad term. Really, it comes down to, we were taught in school that it's like not having to convince somebody to buy your product. That's more advertising. Public relations is more like getting your name out there. This is why I'm a leader in my industry. This is why you should invest in me. So it's really that line between the owner of a company or the face of a brand and the audience, or the public, and just making sure that there's some sort of awareness that they know that you exist, and that they, you're a reliable brand that they can count on, or really just being that line of communication between the company and the public.
Right, right. I would have a very similar definition. I think you answered that very, very well. So you have this niche that you have, right? You have influencers and other talent related management styles. I would say, how did you nail down that was going to be your niche?
Well, I've always been interested in entertainment. I grew up kind of wanting to be like the Ryan Seacrest of our generation.
Yes.
So I like to be involved in the industry, even though I can't sing or I can't act myself. I like to work with people that can. So I think, yeah, that was my goal going into it. And then as I started building my client list and really building what I wanted to do, this might sound silly, but I've kind of looked at people like Cardi B, for example, who went from a TV show and nobody really knew who she was to this amazing brand, this record selling, making whatever
Right.
superstar. And that's what I want to do for people. I want to take them from 0 to 100. So that's really why I've gotten into entertainment. I love it, and I feel like I can help people.
Yeah, there's so many amazing stories of those people who come from nothing and come from these low level positions, and they just escalate, they just blow up. And Cardi B's a
Absolutely.
fantastic example. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
In your answer, you talked about a client list, and one of my questions is actually for those people that are starting up a service based side hustle. How do you get that first client to believe in you and to believe in what you're doing, regardless of not having any reviews, not having any experience? How do you get that first client?
So I'll be honest, I got pretty lucky. I was working for Austin Fashion Week and I bumped into somebody that was about to go on Project Runway. And so we got to talking, and through that connection that I met at that event, she hired me. But what I will say for other people that are wanting to start their own business or their own side hustle is that you have to think about, if somebody doesn't know anything about you, what can you bring to them? And sometimes you might have to take a pay cut or you might not be making exactly what you want. But when you're able to put yourself out there and explain what you're bringing to the table clearly, I think a lot of people are invested in that. And once they have something tangible, something to look at and know what you're delivering to them, that would be a good starting place. I think things like having a website, having an Instagram, just making yourself known and making your business have a place in the internet is first priority for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I listen to a lot of podcasts. That's why I started a podcast. And one of the podcasts that I listen to is all about there's so many services out there. There are so many people and businesses that can provide the exact same service that you do. And I think that what you're talking about is how do you differentiate yourself? What makes you special? What makes you different? And it has to be something authentic. What is that authentic thing for you? What would you say?
I think for me, a lot of people in my industry are very money focused, and it's all about how much money managers can bring in. And although that is everybody's goal at the end of the day, I want to make it clear to my clients that yes, money's important, but what's more important is your success. I would rather so much um, get a media placement or plan out a brand deal that I'm not really benefiting from if it's going to help my client succeed. So I think once clients know that you're not only after their money, I think they're more comfortable with wanting to work together.
Yeah, you just like being your number one cheerleader. Like I just want you to succeed, and
Right.
that's a really cool way to put it.
Thank you.
Valuing the person rather than the service that you're providing them will push you forward. That's a really interesting take.
For sure.
So what was your motivation in starting your side hustle? We talked a little bit about education. We talked a little bit about the services that you're providing. But what was but in the back of your mind, what was the motivation when you were getting this thing started?
I mean, I really wanted to work for myself. I never saw myself as somebody working behind a desk all day long, working for the man, whatever you want to say. So I think once I was able to go through school and have the experience that I did, I was really focused on starting my own brand and planting my foot in the ground, making myself known. You know, as well as I do, the job market is so difficult right now, especially with new kids that are going through college that haven't graduated yet. It's super
Right.
difficult with that and the pandemic. So, although I'm lucky enough to have a full time job, that was also a motivation. I wanted to really keep busy. Again, it's not about the money. It's just I would rather not be, if I'm going to be working, I'd rather not be working for somebody else.
Yeah, and you control your destiny, and that's the great part of entrepreneurship and side hustles is that you control your destiny. Everything that you do is on you, regardless of if it's a positive or a negative, right?
Right.
So that's a really good place to be. And so, keeping that motivation in mind, what's the status of Cameron PR today? Are you hitting that motivation? Are you doing the things that you wanted to do when you were first getting started?
Definitely. I mean, there's so many things that I've added to my business that I didn't have when I first started, but then there's also so much that I still want to do. For example, on top of my list is finding like a nonprofit to work with. Again, I'm not going to financially benefit from that, but I love giving back to the community. So I'd love to add that aspect into my business. And I don't think we've gotten much into this, but at the beginning, when I started my business, I was mainly focused on just one thing, and it was media. So whether that was interviews, podcasts, whatever. But really, I've over time tried to broaden the services that I can provide. So I've added brand collabs and different types of avenues for my clients to be making money. So while I'm still always looking for different services I can add, yeah, I'm looking for other ways to be motivated to go to work every day. And I think a good place to start would be working with a nonprofit.
Right, right. So you've mentioned your main job a few times, and your main job is in PR as well. Is that correct?
It is, yeah. It's pretty similar to what I'm doing for my own business. I work for an online ad company called Service Direct, and I just work with their media relations department. So I'll take their research and I'll pitch it to publications. So it's pretty similar to what I'm used to. It's just not exactly the industry that I fell in love with for most of my life.
So because you're serving different industries, there's no like contractual trouble or anything.
Nope. Yeah, no problems there,
Okay,
luckily.
interesting. That was just a question I had, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that'll help anybody or not. But
nope,
if you are providing a service that is similar to your career, you're going to want to make sure that your contract, if you have a contract, is allowing you to do that because you don't want to mess with your contract. That might
for
be an
sure.
issue.
There are non-competes at times, but luckily mine doesn't interfere.
That's wonderful. That is awesome. So when people are trying to create their business, they're trying to create their side hustles. There's a lot of fear. There's a ton of fear, and with your side hustle specifically, I'm sure there's a ton of fear because there are whole agencies that do what you do. So I'm interested in, did you have fear? How did you overcome that fear? And how do you differentiate yourself? I'm interested.
I had fear. I still have fear. I mean, that's something that I think business owners everywhere can relate to. But I think the one thing that I can say is just freaking do it. Um, for example, when I was adding services to my business, you mentioned that agencies already do what I'm doing. So I was scared that, for example, I'd reach out to a business that's maybe already worked with my client before and they wouldn't be interested, or I'd reach out to a publication and my email wouldn't make sense. So I look like an idiot, but you're never going to learn if you don't try, if you don't start somewhere. So even if I am scared with something, I just tell myself that it's a learning experience. And that's kind of how I've been able to get where I am today.
Right. That's incredible advice. You just got to get started. You just got to do it. And if it doesn't work out, try something else. Keep going, or just keep pushing on that. That's really important.
And I'm sure
Absolutely.
you had fears like starting the podcast too, but you're glad that you just freaking did it. So
Yeah, and it's still like, do I really want to keep doing this? Even though I'm only 3 episodes in, I'm like, because the school year is about to start. I'm a teacher. I'm like, is this sustainable? Are people going to listen? And I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care if people listen because I thoroughly enjoy this, and I thoroughly enjoy just talking to people and learning from people. So that's a really important point. Thanks for
Yeah,
reminding me of that.
yeah, of course. I think that's key in it too, is not only just doing it, but make sure that you're enjoying what you do, because in that respect it won't feel like work. And so I feel like we've both gotten lucky with that. I work all the time, but I'm not feeling like I'm working because I enjoy what I do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so, do you have any partner? Is this really like solo? They call it like solo side hustle or solo entrepreneurship, or do you have partners? Do you have employees? What does your situation look like?
So I do have a partner that works with me on some of the PR aspects of what I'm doing. And then I'm also looking for an intern. But at the moment, it is for the most part just run by me. Like I said, I have an assistant, but nothing too major. I don't have any employees at this point in time.
Nice, nice. Do you think that's in your future?
For sure. Yeah, I definitely love to grow and be able to not only sustain my bills, but help other people make some money and pay their bills through what I'm doing as well.
Oh, that's amazing. You're doing a fantastic thing. So we talked about how you got your first client, right? You say it's a little lucky, but I'd say at this point it's not luck anymore. So how are you getting your current clients, and how are you expanding the amount of clients that you're serving?
Well, thank you. I think the number one thing that I've learned through starting a business, just that can be across any industry, is how powerful the word of mouth is. If you make one person happy, the chances that they're going to turn around and tell another person is so much more likely than if you did an average job. So that's where I'm at right now. I really rely on my client base now to spread the word to their friends that they've been on TV shows with or they've done an event with. And honestly, through that, I've been able to get several more clients added to my roster just because they know that I work with some of their friends.
Absolutely. So what's your client list like? What's it like now? Like, how many people are you serving?
So I started the year with about 3 people, and I currently have 31. So 2021 was a very good year. I mentioned it a little bit, but with the pandemic, I really wanted to refocus my business and not only be worried about, like we mentioned, media placements, but I really wanted to focus on the ROI of my client. Like I want them to see a financial benefit because we're all struggling at the moment. So I think with that shift in mind, I've really been able to get a lot more traction just because I used to have a monthly retainer fee, and that's not something that I do anymore because I don't want people to have to invest in me when they haven't seen the work yet.
Right, right. So is it kind of like getting into pricing, I guess? Is it like a la carte where you pay for a service and when that service is done, you get paid? Or what is your model like?
Yeah, so at the moment it's commission based. So whatever jobs that I bring my client list, I'll get a percentage off of that. While that's not everybody's favorite because it depends on the month, like how good you're doing. One, it keeps me motivated to keep working because I want money, so I gotta
Right.
keep doing what I'm doing.
Don't we all?
Right, right. That's why we're here. But again, I don't want people to feel like they're losing money or they're investing in me when they haven't seen the return yet. So I feel like it's also a confidence thing with my clients. Like they want to be confident in me. So I want to show them why they're investing in me.
Yeah, yeah. So when you hit that wall, when you hit you're struggling to find that motivation. What pushes you through that wall?
The fact that it's not just my name. I would hate to, do something and tarnish a client's name or make them look bad. So I'm always keeping that in mind. It's not just my image. I'm working with people that have public brands and public images that I would be devastated if I did something to destroy. And I just think that, again, going back to keeping the clients happy and not focused on money, I personally hate feeling like I've let someone down. So that need to please really is what keeps me going on the
Sure.
days that I don't feel like I have motivation.
Yeah, yeah. I would say you have. I would consider them big names, and so I can totally see how you want to protect their name and you want to protect their brand. So definitely see that motivation is huge. So you've mentioned throughout your story changes that you've made. Is there a certain change that you think was just really pivotal for your business to move forward and grow? I'm interested.
Yeah. So going through college with a focus on PR, I think I not only learned to love the media, but I think that's also a lot of what they talk about, right? Is working with newspapers or possible TV stations that you can get jobs at. And so that's really, I was kind of focused on that for a long time. But as I've been working, I just realized PR is so broad. There's so many things that you can do. And if you pigeonhole yourself into one area like I did, which is media, you might be stuck
Right.
because not everybody's going to want to, not everybody either wants to pay for media placements or not everybody has the time or cares to be in the media. So I just think the ability to add different services and different things that you can bring to the client is really the biggest change that I had. I love the media. I wanted to always be working with the media, and I still do. But again, I just think it's reevaluating the needs of your clients and figuring out what other services you can add to your table of things that you bring
Right.
to fit those needs.
Absolutely. Was there a change that you look back at and you scratch your head like, oh, probably shouldn't have done that one?
There's some, I wouldn't say maybe one change within my company. There's definitely, because just like working with these big name clients, I also have a brand. I'm not saying I'm a celebrity, but I wouldn't want, to partner with somebody that's problematic or something like that, because that could turn around and look bad on me. So
Sure.
I definitely could say there's maybe I got too excited and signed clients that maybe I look back and I'm like, did you really need to do that? I think for any business, really, one thing to remember is that having X amount of clients, that shouldn't be your goal. If you're wanting to say like, oh, I work with 100 people, well, if 98 of them are crappy people and don't have a good brand, it's not really serving you. So I would much rather be somebody that works with a small number of influencers that I really care about and I really believe in their brand, rather than just taking anybody and everybody that reaches out.
Oh, that's you just poured so much tea all over the place. I love that. I love that. I talk to so many business owners, and it's like you don't have to take everything that is out there. Low hanging fruit is not always the best
For
fruit,
sure.
right? Oh, so good.
For sure.
Um, so I want to talk about like just balancing time as a full time employee and doing a side hustle, and then I also want to talk about education because we brought up education a few times, so I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So how do you balance time? You're a full time employee. You have 31 clients that you serve that are, I would say are big names. So how do you balance that time contribution?
It's difficult, especially with working at home. One thing I try to remind myself is that if I try to do my work where I sleep or where I eat, that I'll never get out of work. I'll consistently be sending emails. So I try and get up throughout the day, take breaks. I also remind myself that if you need to take a day for yourself, self care is so important. The world's not going to crumble if you don't respond to an email in 24 hours. So I think that's something that everybody needs to take into consideration, because we get into these funks where it feels like if I take a day off, I'm a bad employee, or if I take a day off and I'm unreachable, then nobody's going to believe in me. But really, it's going to be okay, and you deserve a day off for your hard work.
That is so good. And I hope teachers are also listening to this episode because we are terrible at taking a day off.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so if you're a teacher out there, take that day off because you deserve it and you need it. And you'll be a better teacher if you take that day off.
And I
But
hate
not,
with teachers, you guys get a certain amount of time, like days off, but I feel like there's so much I don't know, they have to bring in a substitute. There's like a few more steps. So you feel more guilty about that. But yeah, they give you those days off, take them.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And you spilled throughout that response. I think you spilled a lot of good advice. If you're working from home and your side hustle is also from home, maybe you have different rooms, like in your apartment. Like in this room, I'm working on my main gig. I'm working on work. And in this room, I'm working on my side hustle. That physical change, that physical movement, could help your mind actually get in the right place. Maybe that's too much to ask. I'm not sure, but it seems like a good idea.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely worked. I mean, even things like walking my dog, like I just need to make sure I'm getting up and getting out of that work mindset, but also the work environment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So your clients are all over the place, right? They're all over the United States. How do you make sure that with time zones and making sure that they're getting everything that they need? How have you balanced that?
So there, I will say my clients are pretty self-sufficient when it comes to getting things done. Time zones are something that I'm working on, just because I feel like I need to work an extra hour in the day for my clients that are in New York because I sleep an extra hour, and then the ones that are in LA got to stay up 2 extra hours. But going back to, if you're not there, the world's not going to crumble. That's kind of what I have to keep in mind. As long as I'm doing everything on my part, getting emails out and getting information to them when I'm supposed to, then I can't freak out about the time zones too much, you know?
Yeah, that's totally fair. Totally fair. So, jumping back for a moment to education, you've mentioned education a few times. Episode 4 is starting a new series for the podcast. We're going to talk all about career confusion because a lot of people coming out of high school, coming out of college, they're confused, especially when it comes to their career. So, we're going to do a whole series on this. And one of the things we're going to dive into is education. But because you've mentioned it so many times, I'd like to get your take as well. Is higher education necessary? In the United States, would you say? What's your first thought?
Well, the first thought would be depending on what you do, because, you know, if you want to be a teacher, of course, but
Sure.
Maybe for my industry, no. I think maybe 10 years ago, it needed to be something that was a requirement for everybody. But now it's so competitive anyways. And I feel like businesses, when you're applying for jobs, yes, they look at your college degree, but they also look at like other skills and other things that you might not learn at a university, or even with PR. Like, yes, you can go to school for PR, but there's so much that I've had to teach myself outside of school. And so I think that while it is important, it's not necessary, to answer your question.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you say that to specifically PR students in college right now, would you say what I'm hearing you say is the degree is not enough? You got to do more. You got to gain some skills. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, for sure. For PR, it's always changing. We're so digital right now. There's so much social media things that we didn't learn in school. I remember most of what we did when we were learning about PR in school. I remember writing a lot of press releases. I remember taking a lot of classes on grammar. And I can tell you that I can count on my hands the amount of times that I've actually had to use those skills. And so I think staying on top of industry changes is going to be more important than that degree. If you're someone that's able to adapt to the digital landscape and can teach yourself different apps and, you know, go through your own e-learning, like on websites, different courses, I think that's going to be more valuable than a degree, unfortunately.
Yeah, interesting. It's a very interesting take, and we're going to dive further into this, y'all, on episode 4 and episode 5 for sure. Maybe there'll be another bonus episode, like episode 3. We'll see.
Of course.
So, what are the best parts about your side hustle? What do you just love about your side hustle?
One thing I love is that a lot of times the people that I work with have been people that I've seen on TV, I followed for a while, and I like their personality. I like who they are. So the funnest part is not only getting to like be friendly with them and create relationships with them, but adding to their business. Like I love being able to help people that are full-time influencers. So this is how they make their money. I love the fact at the end of the day that I can say, I helped so-and-so pay their bills today. Like that makes me thrilled. I love also just connecting with other people that maybe not are PR professionals, but I'm working with through different things. I really love networking, growing the connections that I have. I think those are some really exciting parts of what I do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what are the things that you just have to grind through?
One would be building those connections. I take a lot of pride in the companies that I do work with and the connections that I have made because I've put so much effort into making those connections. And this can kind of go across all industries, but sometimes we think like if I were to text you and say, "Hey, could you hook me up with whoever is doing your podcast and give me their name and number?" Like that's a lot to ask. And I don't think sometimes people realize that, but those connections are very valuable. So nobody handed me a list of people to contact for different things. So I think grinding through just that initial phase of making myself known is a big part of it. I think another thing that you're just going to have to grind through is you're going to hear a lot of no's.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to work with you, and that's fine. But there will be that person that says they do. So you just have to keep hustling until you find that.
Right, right. That's incredible. And if you're interested in knowing the people that Cameron serves, you can head over to his Instagram at Cameron Owen PR. He serves some really amazing people that I have enjoyed watching on TV as well. We talk about the TV shows we watch all the time.
For sure.
So that's incredible. So my next question is, what is next for Cameron Owen PR?
Ooh, I would eventually like to take my business to the next level where I have businesses contacting me and saying, I don't want to work with your client, but I have this campaign and I need 20 people. Can you help me find that? So not only working with influencers, but working with brands and companies, I think would be the next step. And then after that, kind of like I mentioned, I would like to somehow, I'm still trying to figure out the details, but incorporate a nonprofit somehow, whether that's donating my time or, a percentage of what I'm making goes to them. But one cause that's really close to my heart and maybe close to yours because we're both in Austin is just the homeless population here is
For sure.
insane. So for whatever I can do, whether that's donating materials, I'd love to be a part of that. So I think those are the next two big steps.
So you say take it to the next level. To you, what does that mean?
Good question. How should I word this? I want for taking it to the next level, I think it would mean that I am no longer, maybe not having a full-time job. I would like this to be my main source of income. And I think that's the goal for a lot of people that have a side hustle because we obviously enjoy that more than our full-time job. But yeah, I think once I'm able to do that and step away from my full-time job, I think I'd hit that next level.
That is a completely reasonable answer, and you're absolutely right. I think we're starting a side hustle for a very specific purpose, right? It's because we enjoy it more than what we're doing for work. We just do
Right.
work because we need money, or some people have higher motivations, but a lot of people work to get money because we have to have money to survive.
Unfortunately, that is how the world works.
That is how the world works. So let's get to the rapid questions to close us out. What
Yes,
advice
sir.
do you have for the people out there that want to start a side hustle? What's your advice?
I think the first thing would be be specific with your goals and know what you're doing before you start doing it. I think that might have been a mistake of mine. When I first started, I was just super excited to get the ball rolling, but I didn't necessarily have, a PR plan or a company plan in place. But I do think that's important. And then the next one would be just go for it, because if you wait around too long, the right time's never going to come.
Right time's never going to come. Absolutely. And so I love that advice. You have to set goals. If you're not setting goals, you're not going to go anywhere, right? And there is a research period. A lot of people like to skip that research period because that's not sexy. That's not fun, right? And so there is a research period, and you have to do it. You can't skip it. So good.
Definitely.
So taking your side hustle out of the conversation for a moment, just as Cameron Owen, as an individual, what is something that you're trying to figure out right now? As a young adult, what are you trying to figure out?
Literally all the adult things. I am an adult, but I still call my parents for money questions all the time. So yeah, I think one thing that's on my personal to-do list is really learn more about investing. I think investing is something that everybody should be doing, but I'm scared to jump into it with zero knowledge. So, I just think that's something that I wish was taught in school, but is not. So luckily my dad is a CPA, so I can ask him some questions. But yeah, that's something that I would love to learn some more about.
Yeah, that's a great person to have in the family, and also a fantastic answer. We're going to have a whole series on money at some point because I love personal finance. I talk Amber's ear off about personal finance, and I'm pretty sure she just puts her AirPods in, but that's fine.
Well, good for you for knowing that, because I think that's a skill that if you have, you're set. But I was not born with those skills, so.
Yeah, just it goes back to your advice about side hustles. You just got to get in. You just got to get in and do it. So where can people learn more about you and more about your side hustle, Cameron Owen PR?
Amazing. So you can follow my personal Instagram, which is Cameron Craig Owen, or my Cameron Owen PR account, which is Cameron Owen PR on Instagram. I also have a website for my business, which is CameronOwenPR.com. And I'm also on the Twitter. I'm also on the TikTok, but I don't use that one as much. So yeah, follow me.
Well, I use TikTok a little too much. It tends to eat up my time.
I love to scroll through and watch it. I'm on the TikTok, but I don't post on the TikTok.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of How to Adult with Travis Walker. If you have something in mind, you just got to do it. If you have a side hustle idea in mind, you have to do it. Just go for it. Hopefully you have learned something from this podcast and taken some nuggets of gold, and you're able to apply it. What an incredible episode. I am so excited that Cameron Owen came onto the show and learned us all of the things about Cameron Owen PR, because if you're trying to start a service-based side hustle, you need to model some of the things that Cameron Owen did. He has grown his business, and he is representing some fairly big names. Make sure you go take a look at who he represents at Cameron Owen PR. Also, make sure that you go follow this podcast on social media at How to Adult TW. And if you want to donate to the cause, make sure that you click the contribution link in the description. Until next time, we're all going to learn how to adult together.